Okay, so uh, we are back here on the last session here for question and answer. So whoever is still around, I'm gonna include them in the stage. So if you are still around, you will be able to join us here. Okay, so we have still. Okay, great. We have Sister Huwaida, Sister Rana, and Brother Muad, and Brother Junaid, Sister Nadia, and of course Ayub. They are still all here with us. So good. If Dr. Asif Mahmoud is able to join, we will have him, inshallah, speak, and then we continue with ours. I'm gonna have our my coworker here to if they have any question for the candidates, a question that every candidate can answer, please go ahead. Extend that to Sister Nadia and then to Ayub. Any question you would like to ask the candidates that applies to all of them, so that we give them all chance to speak.
Yeah. So if I could start this off, and this is pretty straightforward. What is have you guys conducted a polling prior to entering the race, and if so, how did that turn out?
Can you repeat that question? I didn't hear.
Have you guys, has any of the candidates here, prior to entering the race or after entering the race, have you guys conducted, third party or internal polling to kind of get a view of, how?
I'm
Yeah.
I'm ha- I'm happy to
Okay.
quickly
The question, if I may, the question was, when you decided to enter the race, have you conducted a poll to see where you stand? What chances do you have in running for the position that you are running on? So, have you conducted a poll? That's the question.
I'm happy to answer quickly because
Sure.
we did not. So my campaign, actually, we did not conduct a poll simply because we don't know who's going to be on the ballot yet, right? So we're waiting for the end of petitioning to really understand the full landscape of the race, as well as getting our name recognition up with the type of media engagement that we're doing right now. But we will be conducting a poll in a couple of weeks. We looked at other factors, including the incumbents' history in this district, and the incumbent that I'm running against won by less than 50% of the vote last cycle. So there's clearly an appetite for a different kind of leadership. We also looked at local EDs and local elections that are aligned with voters like myself. And I feel really lucky to be coming into this race with a group that ran 2 races in New York City that are insurgent races like myself, AOC, and Dr. Bowman's race, Justice Dems, to have that coalition and expertise in the race that I'm running now. But we will be conducting a poll in the coming weeks.
I'm happy to go next. Good question, Ayub. And so we ran a poll early on in the race to get a sense of what the landscape looked like in the train. And alhamdulillah, this is live, and I'm not sure if it's recorded, so we don't release that publicly. But what I could say is that it's absolutely favorable. We know that the incumbent is extremely vulnerable. Like I said, he's the longest serving incumbent without a primary challenge in the country. So 24 years has never once been challenged, and it's kind of been a black box for most progressives. But we knew early on that he was weak, and so we ran the poll. It's within grasp, and I can say that we're projected to win based on what we're seeing in the polling. And we've been talking to voters right and left, over 2,500 right now, and winning 5 out of every 7. And we outraised him more than 4-1 when it came to local Connecticut contributors. And so we know that the landscape has shifted since he took office in 1998, and that the district is one of the more progressive districts in the country and is now desiring more progressive leadership, especially non-corporate backed leadership. So it's a terrific question. We definitely know that this is a race worth investing in, and a race that is absolutely winnable.
Okay, great. Who also would like to share with us?
I can go next real quick.
Yes, Junaid.
Yes. So we did not conduct a poll just yet on the candidates for the same reason that we didn't know who was going to file the petitions. We just filed our petitions last week, so we know that it's a one-on-one race now between the incumbent and myself. So I think that would make things a little bit more clear. But we did conduct a poll on the issues, and one of the things for the corporate money, over a significant majority, like over 80%, do not want corporate money in politics. And also, it's not a formal poll, but I tell you, we've been canvassing, we've been out there, out and about, talking to people since last spring, so about a year now. And every event that we go to, 50% of the people have never heard the name Raj Krishnamurti. The other 50% may have heard the name, of the incumbent, but could care less. After talking to about 100 people in an entire day, you'd find one or two people who feel strongly, in favor of of Raja. So there's a huge opportunity here. It's a matter of name recognition, and every day we make, we talk to a lot of people. Obviously, this is live, so without getting the details, but we talk to a lot of people, and the support is not there for the incumbent, and the opportunity is huge. And we believe we have what it takes now.
Great. Okay. I'm sure, Huwaida, would you like to share with that?
Sure, I could just say a few words. And we are in the same situation that we don't know the field of candidates yet. We have until April 19th to get on the ballot. I was the first one to file to run for office because I was going to run no matter what the district looked like. But and then I got drawn into this 50-50 district instead of the Republican district that I was expecting. And so a lot more people decided that, oh, it looks good, they want to get in. So just in the last 3 weeks, you had two more people get in. We are also talking to people, and we did run a poll on issues. And as we had expected, the top two issues are healthcare and the economy. And also when we're out there talking to people, we're learning the same thing. We do have a pollster that we're working with who is a member of our team. I am the only candidate of the four who is not an established politician. One of them is, the most recent one to get in is a 75-year-old retiring judge who has been in politics in one office, or running for either as a judge or running for different offices for the last 50 years. So he has the highest name recognition, but he's also, he also has kind of strikes against him. So I think right now we don't have that kind of poll. He has run polls, that push polls really, so that don't test his negatives and that don't really test us. And so it comes back, and he can put in the paper that he has 66% support amongst everyone polled. But an honest poll, it's been done. We haven't done one of those yet. We're also waiting. We expect to do one in about a month to 6 weeks time. We're working on getting the name recognition up, because I'm the only one that's not a politician right now. And the other polls that were done, like especially by this judge, were push polls. So it's nothing really to go by, but we do know the issues according to what we did and conduct, and that's what we're working on.
Okay, great. Thank you, Huwaida, and everyone. Sister Nadia, would you like to have also other questions to the candidates? I want to make sure that everybody get a chance to speak.
Sure, thank you. So I think the question I wanted to ask is, I know the biggest hurdle in running for office is raising funds. Have you been able to connect, nationally with other Muslims and other communities or other progressive groups in terms of getting endorsements, as well as for fundraising, and what can we do to help you with that?
I can go first on this one.
Yep.
Awesome. Because the reason I think it was relevant for me to go first on, I'm going against someone who has a 12 mil plus in the bank right now. So fundraising is going to be absolutely critical for us. Now, having said that, we're now at about 800,000, which is, for a first time candidate, it's a pretty respectable number, and not taking any corporate money. So yes, we have been getting quite a few endorsements. Our focus has been on the grassroots level, endorsement that would convert to votes, and community nationwide has been very, very supportive of us. Now, what do we need for us to win this race? We need, if we can get our message out to the target that we have in front of us, we are talking at about another 600,000 should be enough for us to get this through. And community has been standing up, and we've been getting small time donations, big donations, everything, a good combination. And how can you help? I think if just because the audience here is largely Muslim, I would assume, but with that, to answer your questions, Nadia, I think Muslims nationwide come together. Everybody steps up with $100, $50, $27, whatever, to each of these candidates, which is going to be a very, very small hit on people's wallets. But I think to this group of candidates here, it's going to be huge. If 100,000 people come together with $100 each, imagine the impact. Imagine the impact that we will have on this slate of candidates, and imagine the impact that we will have on the representation in DC.
I'm happy to go second. Junaid has been a fantastic fundraiser and has been putting up huge numbers. So kudos to you, Junaid, for all the work that you've been doing. We've been able to outraise our incumbent last cycle more than 4-1 when it came to kinetic contributors. We outraised him more than 2-1 when it comes to individual contributors. But he has a whole lot of corporate donors. He's the 5th highest recipient of corporate money out of all the House Democrats. So we raised about 80% of what he raised last quarter. We know that he's going to probably outraise us throughout this race. That's fine. Money cannot buy you votes. It's powerful, but it's not everything. Our job is to continue raising the money that we need to win this race, to continue to mobilize a grassroots army and base here to get out our message, which we know is compelling and powerful. But our campaign has been traversing the country. We've been crisscrossing this country, going all over to not only fundraise, but to also share the message of why we're running with our community, to continue to galvanize people to get involved in politics and understand the power of civic engagement. If I'm able to inspire others to get involved, then I think that in itself is also a huge benefit to our community. And something that I always share with people when I travel is that our community is the most generous religious community out of any other in the country. So we donate over $2 billion a year. And if we just put 1% of that into politics, I think we'd be able to actually get to the sources of a lot of the problems that we're trying to put a Band-Aid on, whether it's Syria or Yemen, which deserve our donations and our charity. But we need to understand that the way we solve those crises isn't by humanitarian contributions, but by getting political solutions to these crises. And that, in my opinion, requires leadership in the U.S. Federal government, given that it's the most powerful force on the face of the earth. So we've been crisscrossing the country. People who want to support our campaign can go online and contribute and read about our platform, our vision, what we're trying to achieve. But there's no way to accomplish this for myself, or I'm sure any of the candidates, without immense support from our community and for them and having them have our back throughout this process. So it's been encouraging so far, and I'm excited to continue to see the support we'll gain throughout this cycle.
I'm happy to jump in as well. Also, Junaid, I'm listening to the numbers of your opponent, and I'm like, what, $12 million? Every day I'm in this race, I realize how undemocratic our campaign financing system is. I'm also against an entrenched corporate-backed incumbent who just this year has taken over $100,000 from real estate in the district where we have the largest public housing unit in all of North America, in the district where just this year rent has increased by 33%. People are waking up in New York City and their rent increased by $800 overnight. So this is the reality that so many people across this district are dealing with. And our campaign is building a coalition. We feel really lucky to have the support of organizations like the Working Families Party of New York, Churches United for Fair Housing, the Jewish Vote, New York Communities for Change, the Muslim Action Network, and Justice Dems, which I mentioned earlier. We are building truly grassroots, like everyone else on this call. We're not taking corporate money. 90% of our contributions are small dollar, which we feel really proud of. So absolutely, like Maad said, like it is that $100. I think Junaid said this too, that $100, that $50 that people are contributing because they believe in our race. Like there are literal aunties who are in the neighborhood who I was dropping off groceries to during the pandemic who are donating $20 because they're so excited about the race that we're pulling together and feel so inspired by what we're making happen. But the fact of the matter is, we have to continue to raise the money, and we need everybody's support because, you know, in raising the money, although we have raised over $800,000 as well, we need to raise around 2 million to be effective in this race in one of the most expensive media markets in the country. So even though it sounds like a lot, it's not a lot in New York City, unfortunately. And so we have a long way to go. We're grinding, and we would really appreciate all the support that we can get.
I will go last. I echo what everyone has said, and I really want to emphasize what Muad said. You know, when I was doing activism in Palestine, and when we were trying to organize the boats to Gaza, we were trying to raise money for the boats, and people would look at us like we have so many causes to donate to, and certainly, you know, we know what's going on in Yemen and Syria and Iraq and Palestine specifically. It's like you have to rebuild every time that Israel demolishes, and so we give our money to humanitarian. But one of the things I said is, if we can just, like Muad said, a small percentage, like 5%, make it 1% of what we give to the humanitarian to address the root cause, like the politics that is creating these humanitarian crises because of policies that are wrong and that need to change. We won't have to keep putting band-aids, you know, and rebuilding when the powers that be destroy. And so I echo that it's so important, but it is so hard. I probably is the I'm the newer out of the four wonderful candidates that we have here that I entered in mid-November, so I have not gotten to 800,000 yet. But for where I am, my fundraising numbers have, you know, people have said that they're, you know, really good, and can't believe the first time candidate has is doing as well as, yeah, I've done. But to be honest, I need a lot more. I need approximately 1.5 for the primary. I am about a quarter of the way there, but we're doing the fundraising. I also I hate, probably like everyone else does, of being on the phone for hours and hours calling people for money when we need to be out there talking to the people that we want to win their vote. We are interviewing to be their representative, and we have to make our case to them, not, you know, the people that they expect us to be calling to ask for money. It's a dehumanizing process, and it also just brings all together everything that is wrong with the system and our campaign finance system. It starts with what candidates have to do, but obviously it carries on to when people are in elected office and what controls the political agenda, who's voting for what based on who's paying what. And obviously that needs to change. And that's big on my platform, Money Out of Politics. So I also encourage people to, you know, go to all of our websites, whatever you can, spread the word about our races, because one of the things that I'm hearing too, which is a little bit disheartening, but I understand it, but we've got to kind of change our mentality a little bit, is, oh, well, we'll see maybe after the primary. Well, you know, for someone that's in a 50-50 race and it has a primary, it's like, if I don't have, you know, the support of the community support to win the primary, then there's nothing to see after the primary. It's believing in a candidate, believing in the message, believing in the work that they, not that some of what they've done, but what they are going to do and motivated to do, and then getting behind them, because without people, you know, walking with us, unfortunately, the way the system is set up, we're not going to get very far. So if you like what you've heard from all of us, then yeah, maybe not wait to see, you know, how we do when the next poll comes out. Help us make that difference. Help us shift what the polls are saying by upping our name recognition, by supporting us to be out there. That is my 2 cents on fundraising and where we are.
Thank you. Great. You guys can still hear me, right? Okay, good. All right. I think those kind of questions are really important to see how you're coming into the race, and how you feel about, you know, the campaign that you are running and the agenda that you are sharing with your voters and constituents. I think one thing very important here is that, if you become a member of Congress, and what would be the first bill that you will um, uh, uh, sponsor or initiate, that you've been always saying, if I go to Congress, that's what I want to do. So, what would be your first? So, whoever would like to take it, and then we will move into the next one.
I'm happy to jump in.
Okay.
So I'm running, like I said earlier, I'm running in a district with the largest public housing unit in all of North America. The Green New Deal for public housing is a piece of legislation that's really important for a lot of communities here in New York City. We are really impacted by the climate crisis. People died with Hurricane Ida because, like many people, I grew up in a basement apartment here in Queens, and folks were flooded in their homes because of the lack of housing infrastructure. And so fully funding our public housing, expanding our public housing, socializing housing in a place like New York City, where housing is tied to a fluctuating market and is oftentimes inaccessible to working class people, is deeply important. So that's one of the first pieces of legislation that I would stand behind.
Okay, great. The others, what would be your first bill that you will sponsor or initiate?
Yeah, this is a tough question. It's like choosing between which limb I like most. My leg or my hand. So if I have to choose one, we're running in the insurance capital of the world, Hartford, Connecticut, and our district has seen a 77% increase in healthcare costs and only a 12% increase in wages over the past decade and a half. And so we are known as the Medicare for All campaign, and that is something that is deeply important to me because of my own family story of going through $20,000 of medical debt, and also it's been everything I've committed my life to up to this point is trying to fix our healthcare system. It's what I studied and it's what I'm fixated on. So if there was one thing, it would have to be Medicare for All, making sure that no American ever again dies because they're too poor to afford care, that nobody goes bankrupt ever again because they can't afford to pay their medical bills, and that is the centerpiece of this campaign.
Okay, great. Thank you. Junaid?
Mine would be Medicare for all as well. That's the promise we have been fighting for. Even if you're not able to get all the way up to a single payer in the first shot, at least a Medicare for all that does not have pharmaceutical companies and the healthcare companies on the table, on the negotiating table. That is absolutely critical. And that kind of ties in also with no corporate money in politics. Obviously, there's Supreme Court and all that involved there, but I think from a legislation perspective, Medicare for all would be followed by some sort of a legislation to not accept corporate money. And I think as candidates, what we can do is set an example, which goes beyond legislation by not taking that money, which all of us are here are already doing. I think that will be encouragement for others as well.
Thank you, Junaid. Huwaida, what would be your first?
For me, it's getting money out of politics because I think that that's a problem that's holding a lot of other things like Medicare for All and the voting rights and clean energy. It's holding it back because of all of the dirty money that's in politics.
And campaign reform, what they call campaign
And finance
reform?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you all. You have been very enthusiastic about your campaign, and that's very important to have your constituents and your voters feel that their candidate is really believe in themselves and believe in the issues and the causes that they are running for. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we will continue to monitor your campaigns, and we will give you the opportunity to share with the community where you are with your campaign. We definitely would like to see more of you. Again, this was our really a proud moment to see our community running and being involved in politics. So thank you all. Thanks to Sister Nadia and Brother Ayub for helping and organizing this, putting it together. Until next time, we wish you the very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much.
I mean, you guys.
Mm.
You guys. Assalam.
By the way, all of this is on Facebook now and on YouTube. So feel free to share those with your friends and people, to watch these sessions that we have here today. All right.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.